All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Friday, May 12th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So all in all, markets, spiders really fractionally lower here. The Dow about to go positive on the day. NASDAQ down just over a third of a percent. We're getting a little bit of squeeze here in the final hour spot. Mostly down all day long here. Look at this pop here. It'll be funny if they close this back at 412 again. But to me, the story of the day here is, yes, too many calls like in the morning. It looks like kind of a call burning party. So we had a gap up. And if we look at the triple Qs here, we went right into that rising wedge again. And we got a pretty decent reaction off it. So that tells us the market is respecting it. So that is a good pattern. And again, look at this range. I mean, right, we're very tight, and we're going into OPEX week 2. So I think decision time. I know I've been saying like clock's ticking. I mean it. Like we're getting close here. And this is a bearish pattern. So we got to respect that. RSI declining, MACD declining on the triple Qs as we have these higher lows, higher highs there. So rising wedge, spiders still has a potential diamond reversal in play. I will say though, on the daily you do have this green bar and you're inside of that, and there's no real problems. And again, bulls gunning for that 20-day moving average here. For the weekly close, we have about 4 minutes left in the day. That's currently at 411.50 exactly, and price is 411.50, 152. There we are. So looks like they're gunning for right now. I mean, overall, it's not like it matters that much to the weekly time frame. The weekly time frame is still just fine, right? If we're just kind of inside of this kind of range, but you do have the potential for again like an M, and then here's your A pattern, or your lower high diamond reversal, whatever you want to call it. But for right now, in the short term, inside of that, you have a little bull flag. So we could get one more pop here. I definitely can't rule that out. But I think, like I've been saying here, it's kind of decision time. Today, it's no surprise they could float this back up. 55 million shares here. That's like holiday volume. It's pretty much half of what average is. I think our average volume right here is 89, 90 million. So basically just a little bit more than half here. So it's no surprise they're able to just float this right back up here. I'm going to laugh if they get us to 412 here today. Interesting stuff. Lots of headlines. So Tesla, Twitter, new CEO, and now there's rumors that Elon Musk is stepping down from Tesla as well. I don't think that was confirmed yet, but either way, a pretty good gap and crap there. So obviously Tesla gapping up on the news to do with Twitter. In fact, we had a little pop into the close yesterday, right? So we got that big pop, and then we gapped up today and really just kind of selling from there. I didn't hear anything that substantiated that, but the market is going down. I think if that does get unsubstantiated, it could kind of just be maybe some institutional game playing. A lot of people, I mean, looking at my Twitter feed last night and the YouTube kind of feed, it was like Bull City last night. Everybody calling for new highs in big tech, Apple to all-time highs, Tesla breaking out, that type of thing. And you got the sense, too, that they kind of jumped on here in the morning. Look at the little pop we got in the Qs first thing in the morning, and then just kind of, selling right into that. So lots of call burning there. We put in a low here, and now some put burning. So covering into the close. Overall, nothing has really changed here as far as the pattern here on the daily of the SPY. Again, if you do have a blow off, you could get one more pop up into this area. Or, I think if that's not the case, then we're going to roll over here and we'll have an MA top. And if you break 404, your first stop is probably down to this 200 MA. I mean, you'll have a psychological level around 400, but we gotten so close to it twice here that I think you could have enough momentum to at least get to this trend line, which does coincide with that 200 moving average. If that breaks, then there's, definitely more downside in the tape. But we're not there yet. This is all just speculation currently. But those are the levels that we're watching, obviously, over the next couple of weeks, the triple Qs here. Again, if you do push higher and have maybe one type of outside move through this rising wedge, again, there's a gap fill at 329 and change, 329.28 to be exact. Another little gap around the 332 handle, and then, of course, that pivot high. So, double top. But we're into the 100 MA right now, and currently that's acting as a little bit of resistance. You can see what's pulling back off of that on the weekly. And you have this here as well. Again, I just, with the Qs, there's just not a ton of upside here that I can see right now. And again, you see the weekly, we see the RSI declining. I think it's decision time, and it's got to go, do some backing and filling here at the very least. You break this area, next stop would be this trend line here. Kind of coincides with the 50 moving average, and if you get through that, you're probably down to that 300 handle there on the triple Qs. But for now, again, it's still in that range, and it will remain there until proven otherwise. Market set to close here. Look at this pop. So they're going to close as above that 20 moving average on the SPY. 3, 2, 1. Closing bell 411.59. And there's your 20-day moving average at 411.51. So they save it there last second. You gotta just chuckle at this. Big pop there into the close for the SPY. IWM here, again, under a lot of pressure. Again, it's no secret here, breadth is terrible. We've talked about that for weeks. Russell 2000 in a lot of trouble. I don't like the chart. I think this is a short once the market gives us a topping signal. It may even be a short before then. In fact, this might be what gives us the topping signal moving forward. But again, Russell still on the weaker side, down 20 basis points today. Dow flat as a pancake. Still holding 331. If you get through that, it's down to 325. Outside of that, your upside is really just 343. SMH here, so down 11 basis points, nothing crazy. Starting to look a little weaker here, maybe a little bit of a rolling kind of rollover pattern there. To me, NVIDIA, it just looks really tired. Again, we talked about, you want to talk about RSI. I mean, this has been diverged since mid-March. And it's making, it's still making new highs. You got to give it credit, but it's the pops are like less and less now, right? We had a pop here off of earnings. We consolidated. We got a big pop, and now we're still getting slight higher highs, but it's like the bulls are kind of laboring here. You had a slight higher high, you're kind of rolled over, now you're rolling again. So again, just looking like it's really tired up here at these levels. I mean, it's only up like over 100%. So it makes sense, but either way, semiconductors here still not making new highs with the Qs. Obviously, that's a divergence, and it's not something you should ignore. Same thing with IGV, that's not making new highs either. Did hold the 20 moving average there by the close, and the weekly pattern is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. You still have a nice inside bar there for a possible advance, but you're going into, look at where you're going into here on the weekly, if it can even get up there. And then on the monthly, I mean, this is just, you got the 20-month moving average, and, you can make a case this is just a kind of bear flag there on the monthly as well. So that's really the issue I have with it. Moving forward, Dow Transports here, down just over 1/3%. Again, this one's starting to roll over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lower highs. What can you say? It's weak. It's starting to get back over to this trend line. You get a weekly close below that, and this is going to go a lot lower. Like a lot lower. So just be careful with transports here, and don't ignore them. Yields here came back in a little bit today, or I should say bonds, notes came down a little bit today. 2-year down 16 basis points, nothing crazy. 10-year, same thing, nothing crazy there, and the same thing on the 30-year. Again, I don't have a buy or sell signal on yields right now. They're just in a bigger time frame holding pattern. They will be a buy later on, though. Moving into housing here, XHB. XHB had a red day again. That's 3 in a row. That is incredible. ITB here had one red day. I know it's hard to believe. It was down 0.5% here. Still holding trend though, so it's got to be respected here. But these are also very, very, very top heavy. VNQ, just an inside day. Nothing really going on there. Let's not worry about that. XLF on the weaker side. Down almost 0.5%, still below those moving averages. The fins are not out of the water, out of the woods yet. KRE managed to scratch out a gain, so maybe a little bit of a positive there. But again, this is not a good chart any way you look at it. KBE flat. And then broker dealers still putting in kind of a possible zigzag up move. So this can still get a little bit of a bid here. But again, I think upside is limited in all the financials right now. And I'm just not interested in playing any of them. Crude here. So this backed off a little bit again. And again, I told you yesterday I'm a little bit more neutral on it after that kind of dip yesterday. This can still, dip below 70 and has plenty of room for a daily high or low. I can't rule that out. Just to me right now, the risk reward's not great, because if you lose like this area here, or even 70, if it fails to put in a higher low, it's going to go back all the way down here. to 64. And my guess is if it hits 64 one more time, it's going to break, or you're going to get a slight lower high and then you're going to break. So I'm just kind of avoiding it here. I would say a little bit more neutral to bearish on crude right now. XLE did manage to scratch out again, so we'll say they held this trend line for the weekend, for the end of the week, because it's just so close there, and there's a margin of error, of course, but just not a great chart. Again, I don't see it getting through much through 82. XOP did get a bounce today. That's still soft as well, and OIH still soft. If this gives us a bear pattern, it's going to go through 250, but for right now, it's holding up. Nat gas did get a nice pop today, up 3.5%. We do have some daily chart higher lows here, as I've talked about before. And you got a pop Sunday night, 1, 2, 3 inside bar, and then another pop. It did come out that today, I believe the rig count dropped by 17. So that's a pretty big amount. And you can see here on the intraday, big surge there. And it actually held the gains for once. So nat gas in much better shape here. Like I've been saying, I think this is all just accumulation. And look, they've been buying the dip for 4 weeks in a row now on the inventory number, and sellers haven't been able to break $2. I'm saying this till I'm blue in the face. Like, the institution's smart money, they're not going to wait for the inventory build to improve before they start accumulating. That's what I think is happening, and then now you're seeing things start to turn around here. But you don't wait for the news to come out. If you do that, you're too late. So, anyways, nat gas getting a nice pop and closing out the week pretty nicely there. Dollar index. That got a really big bid today, and there's definitely a bit of a dynamic change there. If we go over to the DXY here, again, we talked about this yesterday. It does look like the market now, we're seeing the dollar kind of bid up with bonds yesterday. Now, bonds were down today. Maybe that was just a one-day ordeal, but it still looks to me like the market is now more worried about recession than it is yields. But either way, dollar getting back above that 50 MA on the weekly. And it got above all those pivots. The only one really to get above here is 102.80, 102.80 spot 7 there. If you get above that or the 20-week moving average, I think the low's in on the dollar. Until then, it could still have one more dip, but there's not much downside. There really isn't much. But nice pop there following through, and you got above these pivots here. So chart looks better, getting that close above that 50 moving average as well. Over to gold here. So let's get over to GC. That did come off the highs again, continuing to kind of pull back just below that 20 moving average right now. That's not major. There's nothing horribly major about that 20 moving average right now, but it is a psychological level. Silver, on the other hand, did get pounded again. And we actually closed out a winner today on our silver short for about 15-16% on that. Again, I've been telling you guys, look, this is just way too overdone here. You can't go up 30% in 6 weeks and then not expect to pull back, especially when you're into resistance. I can't tell you how many people in the comments here too said like, oh no, you're an idiot. Silver's going all the way, all the all-time highs. It's going to do this, it's that. Look, just follow the charts. That'll tell you everything. Don't be filled with emotion. Don't buy into all the hype and all the media. Just follow the charts, and they'll generally guide you. Even when we had this little curl back up, told my members, look, there's not, even if they curl this back up a little bit, there's not a lot of upside here. You can't lock into the daily time frame. Look at the pivots you're going into here. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of supply up there, and silver pulling back pretty sharply. Now it will have some support around 2350. Again, this trend line here, you could basically say you tested it today. If we could probably, you can say it went there, right? But I think it wants to get to 2350 here in the short term. If you consolidate and you get through that, there's some more levels down, in kind of like the 22 area, and then there's the 200 moving average there. But either way, you went up straight in a straight line without building supports. So that's generally what happens. So don't buy into the hype, and don't listen to what the media says, because they're wrong 90% of the time. The charts are right more than 75-80% of the time if you know how to read them. Platinum backing off here a little bit, so lower high there, big sell there, down 4%. So it did lose this trend line here on a weekly close, but it still has this green bar, so nothing really terrible as long as you're above 1050-20. I still like platinum here. I just think it needs to consolidate more, but no real issues. It did back off the highs, obviously, and palladium backed off as well, down 3%. We'll continue to cover palladium because I think it's interesting down here, and I like this level, as I've mentioned. I just didn't cover it for a while because it was just in a range. So it was just really not worth covering. But I like these levels. It is attractive to me down here. So we'll be keeping an eye on it moving forward. Copper here managed to hold the line here. So a little dead cat bounce, but I'm not really in love with it. You want to get, if you get a big dump like that into a big level, you want to see a V shape. Doesn't mean it can't do it Monday, but I think at this point it might want to consolidate and flag. I think 360 is a good level though for it. We'll see how it plays out next week. But yeah, copper getting a little bit of a bounce there. Anyways, over to Bitcoin. So this Bitcoin just dumped and then it reversed pretty sharply. So that head and shoulder pattern did trigger yesterday. Then today we continued lower, and let's go to a smaller time frame here. We had a big jump right into the 330 time frame, and then just look at this V shape. That's interesting though, because this is not the first time. We'll go to an hourly again. Look at these big dumps we've had on Bitcoin in the last couple of weeks, just like mini flash crashes, and then they keep getting bought up. I'm not sure if somebody's distributing like a ton, but it's definitely been under pressure here, and we're making lower highs. Again, that is a daily head and shoulders. That triggered yesterday. You can negate it with a close back above this neckline. On the weekly, again, we still have 2 days, so they could still pop us back up. This weekly pattern's still not broken. That's the only reason, like that's kind of your saving grace there for Bitcoin is that, yes, you have a daily head and shoulder, but if that weekly pattern still, shapes up and hangs in there, then you can negate this head and shoulders and it can still go higher. I can't rule that out here, but this is, we're definitely seeing some distribution here, if you ask me, but definitely on the weaker side, got all the way down to 25.9. And then you got your big level at 25, and I think 24 is probably the better level right now, just because we've kind of bounced a little bit there. But interesting stuff going on in Bitcoin. Ether down 0.5% too. That is a little bit off the lows as well. Anyways, yeah, just back over to the spiders here. Nothing going on. As far as really price action here, just down 54 cents. Again, you still have a daily inside bar, but remember, big picture. Big diamond pattern that is bearish, as is this rising wedge on the Qs. And I think, again, like I said, clock's ticking. Market's got to make a decision sooner or later, and it's probably going to be a big move. Anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Subscribe to the channel. I'll talk to you guys all next week.